Disney's live-action remakes have proven to be an artistic wasteland, devoid of soul, creativity, or even the basic understanding of what made their animated classics so loved in the first place. Rather than honouring their own legacy, Disney has repeatedly butchered its greatest films in the name of corporate greed, pandering, and visual mediocrity. And the results of this are a string of soulless, creatively bankrupt films that fail to capture the magic, charm, and timelessness of their animated counterparts. Even worse, Disney's attempts to modernize their animated classics have often backfired, alienating the very audiences who made them successful in the first place. Disney's live-action remakes are not driven by a passion for storytelling, nor are they made to reimagine or enhance the originals in any way. They exist for one reason, and that is to squeeze every last drop of profit out of nostalgia. Instead of crafting something new or bringing a fresh artistic vision to the table, Disney opts for lazy scene-by-scene recreations with none of the emotional resonance. The result is a hollow imitation of a masterpiece, a soulless echo of what once had heart. But the problem isn't just these films are unnecessary, it's that they actively degrade the legacy of the originals by making everything worse. The 2019 live-action remake of The Lion King is a perfect example of this. It's a nearly shot-for-shot remake of the 1994 animated classic, yet somehow it manages to strip away all the charm and emotional weight. Why? Because while animation allows for exaggerated expressions, bold colours, and heightened emotions, the photorealistic CGI makes everything stiff, lifeless, and robotic. The characters can no longer express themselves through facial movements, so what was once a deeply emotional scene in the original, like Mufasa's death, becomes flat and uninspiring. The original film worked because it embraced the strengths of animation. The remake fails because it fundamentally misunderstands why animation was the perfect medium for that story in the first place. For a company that once set the gold standard for visual brilliance, Disney's live-action CGI is shockingly bad. Take the Little Mermaid live-action remake in 2023. The original animation was bursting with colour, rich blues, vibrant reds that made the underwater world feel alive. The live-action remake though? Well, that was a murky, desaturated mess where the ocean looks more like a sewer, to be honest, than a magical kingdom beneath the waves. The characters blend into the background and the underwater sequences have no sense of depth or movement. This problem isn't just about the aesthetics, it's about storytelling. When you remove the visual vibrancy, you remove a key part of how audiences connect with the world of the film. Animation allows for exaggerated beauty, expressive movements, and carefully crafted artistic direction that enhances the emotions of the story. The live-action remakes, by comparison, look drab, generic, and painfully dull. A huge part of why these remakes fail is that they completely miscast actors to play these roles, or the actors deliver performances that are nowhere near as good as their animated predecessors. For example, the 2019 live-action remake of Aladdin was dragged down by its bizarre choice to cast Will Smith as the genie. Now, Will Smith is a talented actor with tremendous combat skills, but the role didn't suit him. The genie in the original Aladdin was crafted around Robin Williams' voice performance, a hyperactive, shape-shifting force of nature with limitless charisma. Will Smith simply couldn't match that energy and the film suffered because of it. His genie was awkward, visually off-putting, and nowhere near as dynamic or entertaining as the original. And then of course there's the upcoming live-action Snow White remake. A casting decision that is so misguided it has sparked so much backlash before the film has even been released. Rachel Zegler, cast as Snow White, has repeatedly mocked and dismissed the original film in interviews, calling it weird, and celebrating the fact that the live-action version removes the traditional love story. Whether or not Rachel Zegler is actually talented is besides the point now. If an actress publicly expresses contempt for the role she's playing, how is anyone supposed to believe in her performance? Casting is about more than just filling a role. It's about embodying a character in a way that makes audiences connect with them. And Disney has repeatedly failed at this. One of the biggest reasons these remakes fail is Disney's misguided obsession with modernizing classic stories, but in the worst way possible. People might have been more open to watching Disney's live-action remakes for modern audiences simply if they were done well. But the problem with Disney's approach is that they make changes that feel forced, shallow, and completely disconnected from the original story's themes. For example, the Little Mermaid live-action 2023 altered Ariel's defining "I Want" song and downplayed her desire to explore the human world because modern Disney executives considered it problematic. In doing so, they completely misinterpreted her entire character arc. Ariel's journey journey was never about giving up her voice for a man, it was about pursuing her deepest desire for freedom and discovery, with Eric being just one part of that larger dream. By stripping away the emotional weight of her choice, the remake flattened her character, making her far less compelling. And now with the live-action Snow White remake, they've stripped away the love story and rebranded Snow White as a girl boss warrior who doesn't need a prince.
Not too sure that was a clever move.
The problem with this isn't that strong female characters are bad, it's that Snow White was already strong in the first place. She was strong in a way that fit the story being told at the time. She was kind, optimistic and resilient, and her strength came from her goodness and ability to inspire love in others. By rewriting her into a generic modern action hero, Disney is not making her stronger, they're making her unrecognizable. Disney has been bleeding money with its recent live action remakes, and Snow White is almost guaranteed to be the biggest financial failure yet. The studio is pouring an absurd amount of money into this film, reportedly exceeding $200 million, and that will mean it will need at least 500 to 600 million just to break even. If you ask me, that's an impossible task for a movie that's already been overwhelmingly rejected by audiences, and that's before it's even hit theatres yet. We've already seen what happens when Disney overspends on films that no one actually wants. The live action Little Mermaid barely managed to scrape past $569 million, but even that was considered a failure as it needed significantly more to be profitable. If Disney can't make a financial success out of films like The Little Mermaid and Mufasa, what hope does Snow White have when it's actively being hated on before its release? Unlike previous remakes where general audiences were at least curious, this film has already been branded as a disaster waiting to happen. The PR backlash, the rejection of the lead actress, the lack of faith in Disney's ability to tell a compelling story anymore, all of these factors spell disaster. If Snow White bombs hard enough, it will be impossible for them to justify continuing going down this path. But I wouldn't hold your breath, because knowing Disney's leadership, they won't learn the right lesson. Instead of recognizing that audiences are rejecting these remakes because they lack creativity, heart and respect for their source material, the Disney executives will likely blame toxic fans, misogyny and bigotry, ignoring the fact that audiences have been begging for original high quality films rather than soulless rehashes, and this will only accelerate Disney's downfall. And that's the blunt truth of it.